bring you some breaking news this hour. This has come from our reporter Will Godley with regard to the plans by the government to house asylum seekers at the Crowborough training centre, that military establishment in East Sussex. They have this afternoon launched a judicial review, or at least a bid to have a judicial review heard into those plans by the government to house some 500, more than 500 young male asylum seekers in that rural location, which has really galvanised people in that area. They are absolutely livid and very concerned about the potential for these young men to be housed at this military training camp. We've had patrols of local people that have been taking place in that area awaiting the potential for migrants to arrive there. And now this move, a legal move by the residents in Crowborough, Martin, that is potentially problematic for the government, because the reason being is the move towards military establishments and other sort of bigger, more austere bases is the kind of proposal that the government wants to take up and run with to get themselves out of the terrible hole they're in at the moment, with housing some 36,000 asylum seekers in hotels and many more in dispersal accommodation around the country. So this was their next big plan, was to try to open up lots of these particular camps, if you like, within either military bases or other suitable sites. But if we get a challenge that goes against the government here, that whole policy could be in disarray.
OK, Mark White, as I understand it, the judicial review here has been applied because there's been no basic planning application done by the Home Office. They haven't done the correct paperwork. They haven't done the correct risk assessment. This is a residential area. It won't be fenced off, as I understand it. Having spoken with locals, people could simply wander around the village. There's no impact of safety, no impact on local facilities. And once again, it's total and utter chaos.
Yes, and we've heard this issue around planning consent before. It was used by the people of, the Essex town where the Bell Hotel was, as a way in which, of course, to try to get a High Court decision there. And initially they did get a successful decision to prevent asylum seekers being housed in this Essex hotel, all because the local council said that, as far as they were concerned, the hotel group, the Amani group, had not gone through the proper planning process for what effectively, they said, amounted to a change of use. Of course, that substantive hearing just in recent weeks went against the local council, but it's certainly an avenue that's open to local residents and councils to potentially challenge. And here, as you say, they are accusing the Home Office of just not doing the appropriate work in trying to determine whether this is a suitable site to house these young male asylum seekers.
Mark White, they're not solving the problem, they're moving the problem, and they haven't even solved the problem where they're planning to sort it out. Mark White, thank you very much for joining us on the show. Let's now speak with the Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control, Rob Bates. Rob, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to have your company. This will come as no surprise to you. Billions of pounds wasted, untold amounts of people simply gone walkabout within the country, and it's taken more than 3 years to sort more than half of these cases. And meanwhile, they don't even know how to apply for planning in Crowborough.
The asylum system is falling apart in front of our very eyes. The cost, the asylum budget has increased near sevenfold since 2019. We're now seeing $5 billion spent in the last year. That's $17 billion spent since 2019. And what are we actually getting for that money? Just more and more chaos. And this report, this National Audit Office report, is incredibly damning about the way that the Home Office is approaching this issue. It's very lazy when it comes to collecting data. It's not really concerned about the overall picture. You've got silos operating within the Home Office, every individual just concerned about their own part of that. And the real problem here, and the real reason why we have such a huge backlog and so many numbers that we have to deal with, is simply because we are not in a legal footing where we can remove a very large number of individuals. So the government is constantly talking about increasing the returns of people. A lot of them are going to very, very safe countries. They're going to Eastern European countries. They're going to places like Brazil, but we're not tackling the fundamentals here, which is we just simply don't have at the moment, as long as we're in the ECHR and the Refugee Convention, the ability to return people to places like Afghanistan or Eritrea. There is a very remote chance of those removals ever taking place as long as we stay inside those international conventions. And this is really a problem of our own doing, in that we've not been prepared as a country to have the conversation about the legal restraints that are holding us back. We also need to look, of course, at what the Conservative Party did, where they quite rightly said anyone coming into the country illegally would never be able to claim asylum. But that simply meant, again, because they were staying within these international conventions, those individuals from places like Afghanistan just simply weren't being removed, and there was no place to return them to. So it's a cacophony of problems. And unfortunately, as always, it's the British taxpayer that has to pick up the tab. And it's small, tranquil communities around the country that are having hundreds of young men dumped on their doorstep, possibly to just disappear into black economy and to cause goodness knows what havoc. So I think it's about time we put the national interest first when it comes to talking about our asylum system, and to hell with international obligations.
Rob Bates, can I get your opinion on breaking news this past hour? And that is, the European countries have said to the European Convention on Human Rights in Strasbourg today, David Lammy and Lord Hermer are there, and they're applying to the goodwill of the ECHR to renegotiate a different approach that will allow the European states to have offshore containment. That takes 46 nations who are all a part of this to sign off on it. Are you in any way convinced that tweaking the convention can get us out of this mess?
No, and how many times have we heard in recent years sort of a grand renegotiation at the European level is taking place, and it's going to fundamentally change the paradigm in which certain decisions are being taken? None of this ever amounts to anything. And I think this is unfortunately another case of us being spun a lot of hope. We saw it a lot with the Conservative Party when it came to European Union membership. And I think, unfortunately, this will just be another reflection of the Labour Party doing the same with the ECHR. And, you know, when it comes to family life, there is maybe a little bit of wiggle room for a renegotiation there. But I can't see how they get anywhere near Article 3, the right to avoid degrading and inhumane treatment. That is an absolute right. So I don't think there's a cat's chance here in Hades that will actually be renegotiated. And then, of course, we're not having any conversation at the moment about other international treaties like the Refugee Convention, and that will stay very much as a straitjacket in which asylum policy is conducted going forward until someone's prepared to say we're leaving that as well.
OK, Rob Bates, thanks for your opinion as ever. Truly appreciate it.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally. OK.
Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just living credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
OK, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Welcome back now. Let's go back to that breaking news story, and that's the Crowborough residents have applied for a judicial review against the Home Office's decision to house migrants at the army base in their town. And a spokesperson from Crowborough Shield Community Interest Company has told GB News this. We can confirm that just after 2 p.m. today, on behalf of the people of Crowborough, we have issued proceedings against the Home Secretary in respect of her decision to house migrants at Crowborough camp. And we are seeking judicial review to overturn this decision. Well, joining us now is the Crowborough resident, Kim Bailey. Kim, welcome to the show. A significant breakthrough for the residents of Crowborough. You've applied directly to the Home Office and say you will not take this base in your town. Tell us how you're feeling.
Yeah, it feels really good. I mean, and it's absolutely testament to all the people that have been working on this. So obviously, as the chair of Crowborough Shield, one of the directors, there's Alex DeWarren as well. But this isn't just about two people bringing a case. This is about a whole town coming together. You know, a lot of people have worked so hard to get this over the line so quickly. And it's just absolutely amazing that we've been able to do it so quickly. So yeah, we are excited to be bringing it, to be saying to the Home Secretary, you know, this isn't a national security issue. You cannot just bypass every law and decide to do what you want to do. And it should be challenged, and that's what we're doing.
And Kim Bailey, for the benefit of GB News viewers and listeners, can you outline for us the concerns of locals in Crowborough about having so many men dumped on your area?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is there's been no consultation whatsoever. So we have absolutely no idea what the plans are, risk assessments. There's been absolutely nothing, impact assessments. The Home Office and Wealdon District Council were operating in complete secrecy away from anybody in the town. And so we literally have no idea what is happening. You've got Alex Norris, the minister, who's basically told us that Wealdon District Council will get 48 hours notice before the asylum seekers go in. But yet even Wealdon District Council, as far as we know, haven't received any information on safety, impact assessments, extra resources, nothing. So the whole thing has just kind of been smashed through without any due regard or any consideration for anything, essentially. The forest, the people, nothing. And the cadets, obviously, the cadets have just been, you know, kicked out of their lifelong training camp to make way for this. It's disproportionate and it's unacceptable.
Kim, is it also about something else? It's about a political class who make decisions divorced from the reality of locals such as yourselves, and a liberal policy suddenly becomes a problem for people like you with there being no consultation whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think, you know, and I hope that that's what we can, at the bare minimum, is show is that people aren't just going to sit back and, you know, you're an elected government. You're not going to people are not just going to sit back and allow decisions to be made where it's not in the best interest of the people. So it's a fundamental right to be able to challenge. And what the Home Secretary, the Home Office, Wealdon District Council have been doing is saying, you can't challenge us.
OK, well, Kim Bailey there, Crowborough resident, thank you for speaking with us, and let's make sure we stay in touch here at GB News throughout this process. And we've approached the Home Office, just to let you know, for a statement. We haven't got that yet, but when we get it, we will get it to our viewers. Kim Bailey, thank you very much for joining us. Let's get my next guest in now. I'm delighted to be joined by the human rights lawyer, David Hay. David, a pleasure to have your company. Does it come as any surprise to you, David, that the Home Office doesn't seem to have gone through the basic due diligence of going through planning assessments or even risk assessments on the local? They seem to be flying blind into this.
Good afternoon, Martin. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. They've done it before, and they're doing it in this case, and they'll do it again. I think the judicial review is a very, very interesting option for the local community to take. And just, you know, so your viewers and listeners know what a judicial review is. It's a little bit different to someone taking someone to court. A judicial review means where an interested party, in this case, obviously the community, have asked a judge to review the decisions of a public body, whether it's the government or the council. And so that will be very, very interesting. First of all, they need to get permission to actually proceed with that. And if they get permission, there'll be a substantive hearing. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this is dealt with, because, of course, it has an impact on other areas where similar things are happening and have happened in the past.
And we saw that with the Bell Hotel in Epping, David Hay. The local residents there went on a planning issue. That was overturned because the Home Office, as damn sure as much as they all know, if there's a result, a victory in Crowborough, then everybody around the nation will start to try and replicate their legal action. David, as I have you here, could I also get your opinion, please, on David Lammy and Lord Hermer in Strasbourg today, trying to get the European Convention on Human Rights to see their way of thinking, trying to get them to tweak, to disapply certain parts of the rulings to allow Britain to have offshore containment centres. Do you think they've got a hope in hell of getting anything out of Strasbourg?
I mean, I think, Martin, I think the simplest way to say, it's too little too late, really. And, I won't say much about, I think Lord Herman's a very good lawyer, but don't have much confidence in David Lammy being able to negotiate anything. But, I think it's a very difficult thing to change the ECHR. There's several ways it can be done, but the main way is that you need to get all of the nations to agree. Yeah. And that's going to take a very long time. So I don't have much faith in their ability to achieve anything quickly. And it's quickly that we need results here.
And that's the point. There are 28 members asking for a tweak today, Britain being one of them. But there are 46 members who are signatories to this. And David, if you're one of those other 46 nations, you're going to be saying, well, what's in it for me? You're going to be asking for billions of pounds. You could even say no.
I think that's the thing. I think some of some countries will benefit from changes, some clearly will not. So to change the actual constitutive documents, you need everyone to agree. That's not going to happen. So there's other ways of doing it, which is an optional protocol, not really going to work in this case. And another is trying to get judges to interpret it in a certain way. Very difficult. So if you had years and years and years, then yes, you could do it. But, like I said, it's too little, I think, too late in this case. And I don't think David Lammy is the right person to be doing the negotiations.
OK, David Hay, thanks for your input as ever. And I always have to say, looking very impeccably turned out and dapper as ever. Human rights lawyer David Hay, always an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Now you've been serving some holiday sun this year.